Section 0.8 deals with area. An area is the number of square units needed to cover a surface. So there are some formulas for these that we're going to need to know. So the formula for the area of a rectangle is length times width. The area of a parallelogram is base times height. So they're very similar. Again, make sure you're using little b for the base. Later on we're going to get into big B, but that means something completely different. The formula for the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. And the reason for this being is, if you looked at a rectangle and you cut it in half on the diagonal, you'd get a triangle. So it's half of the area of a rectangle, basically. And then the area of a square is the side squared. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at a few examples. So the first one that we're going to look at is we are going to look at a rectangle. Okay, so here we go. We have our rectangle. Again, I'm going to label it. I'm going to label that this side is 2 meters. I'm going to label that this side is 10 meters. Okay, so now I can go ahead and I can find the area of this. And so the area is just going to be 2 times 10. So I'm not going through and I'm not going all the way around like we did with perimeter. I'm going to get 20 as my area. My units are squared here, so I have meters squared. Again, really important to show your units. All right, here's another one. So the next one we're going to take a look at is a square. So let's take a look at a square. Let's make that kind of square-like. There we go. So now we have a square, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to label this. I'm going to say I know that it's a square. We have our little markings to show me that it's a square in case mine didn't look like a square, it looks like a rectangle. And I'm going to say that we have 2 inches. So again, I want to go ahead and I want to find the area. So it's the same idea that you're using length times width basically, because the length and the width are the same. But we can really just think about it by squaring it. So if we do that, we're going to get 4. Again, I want to use my units, and my units are going to be inches squared. All right, so the next ones we're going to take a look at, I'm going to take a look at a triangle. And so if you remember, the triangle, the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to write this as 1/2. The base and the height of the triangle are always where the right angle is forming. So in our case, it's going to be the 5 and the 12. I'm not going to go ahead and use that diagonal or the hypotenuse because it's not where the base and the height are. So you can multiply this however you want. Some people will go ahead and multiply 5 times 12 first, and then they're going to get 60, and then they'll take half of that, which will give me 30 meters squared. Remember that multiplication is commutative. You can switch the numbers around. So if you'd rather take half of 12 and get 6 and then multiply by 5, you're still going to get 30. It doesn't matter. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at a different type of triangle. So we don't have a right triangle here. So we might have something like this, where they say that that side is 5, the bottom all the way across is going to be 6 feet, and they might say that this dotted line inside is 4. Okay, again, like I mentioned in the last one, we always want to use where the right angle is. So that's what we're going to be using. We're going to be using the 6 and the 4. So again, I'm going to have 1/2 times 6 times 4. Again, I can go ahead and I can do 6 times 4 is 24, and half of that is 12. So I'm going to get 12 feet squared. Or if you prefer, again, take half of 6 and get 3. 3 times 4 is 12. Doesn't matter. Either way, you're going to end up with the same thing. All right, and so then our last one, our parallelogram, we're going to say that this one is 11 feet all the way across. And let's put in that this is 9 feet. Okay, so again, I'm not going to be using these diagonal ones that are right here. I want to use the ones that are meet up with my right angle. I'm not going to use the 1/2 this time because I'm not dealing with a triangle. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to multiply 9 times 11, which is going to give me 99 feet squared. you're going to want to be careful. So in these ones, I just gave you the information that you needed to know. Sometimes they're going to give you some extra information, like extra numbers that you don't need. So please be careful about what numbers you are using. And so the last thing that we have is we have the area of a circle. And unlike when we did circumference, how we had two different ways of looking at the formula, we only have one way. And so the area is just pi r squared. A lot of people have difficulty remembering which one goes with area and which one goes with circumference, but I always think that the units in area are squared. That's how I remember that r has to be squared. So let's go ahead and let's do an example of this. So we have our circle, and so maybe they're going to give us the circle and they're going to tell us again that the radius here is 3 centimeters. So I'm going to plug into the formula. So if I plug into the formula, I'm going to have pi times 3 squared. I'm going to square 3, remember our order of operations. So I'm going to get pi times 9. So we can go ahead and we can multiply that out. We could have 3.14 times 9. So I'm going to get 36. I get 9 plus 3 is 12. I'm going to get 27. I'm going to get 28. Remember, our decimal moves over 2 places, so it's going to be right here. And again, don't forget your units. They're centimeters squared. Last one for area. So again, sometimes they're not going to give you the radius. They're going to give you the diameter. And so, if I have the diameter, I'll be a nice blue circle here, let's say that this is 20 meters. Okay, so if I have something like this, I need to take half of it because I want the radius. So remember, the radius is half of the diameter. So my radius here is really 10. So I'm going to square 10. So if I do that, I'm going to get 100. So basically I have 3.14 times 100. And I know that if anytime I multiply by 100, remember I just move my decimal over twice. So my final answer is 314 meters squared.